Hey guys, welcome to the REsimpli channel. Today I want to talk about how you can create a team that closes deals while you sleep or while you're on vacation. A couple things we're going to focus on today are some tips for how to hire, how to delegate, and how to create a collaborative environment for your team. Let's talk about hiring. This is so important to get right, and I can tell you I have not got it right from the first time multiple times, and moving forward we will always do a 4-step hiring process. I don't care what role it is, how big or how small, making sure you get the right person in the right seat is going to save you headache and make you money. All right, so the first thing, putting out your ad, receiving in inquiries, applications, and reviewing resumes. Honestly, you can outsource this. A family member, a friend, they can review people and just see some basic criteria that you're looking for and weed out the junk, because there's often a lot of junk. Hiring a great fit is like finding a needle in a haystack. So I don't recommend that you as the business owner and entrepreneur spend all of your time on every one of these 4 steps, because it'll lead to burnout. Or you'll just get overwhelmed and tired and feel forced to make a decision on someone that might not have been the best candidate just because you don't want to go out and start the process over again. Ask me how I know. All right, so the first initial screening of applications is going to weed out a few and move a few forward. The next step that I would take them through also can be outsourced. Give your family member, friend, someone you're paying 20 bucks an hour, a very simple script, because all you're trying to find out on interview number 2 is, why does this person seem interested? Are they interested? Do they understand the basics of the role? And is the income that you're suggesting and providing a fit? It's a 15-minute conversation, very high level, and again, can be outsourced, but will definitely weed out quite a few people. All right, so now you're getting into the more likely candidates, and you're gonna have some in-depth calls getting into, are they a company values fit? Okay, let me ask you guys, do you know your company's core values? If you don't, I would draw some out, 4 or 5 that are gonna be the cornerstone of your company and how you operate. Will set you up for success. And having a culture fit and a value fit is going to be way more important than someone who, on paper seems like all these amazing accolades and sales skills and whatever. But if they're not a culture fit, or if they just kind of run outside of your core values, it's not going to be a fit. So build your core values and then ask questions around core values when you're hiring. I even was taught a trick to ask people who are 3 people that they admire. So I was taught the trick to ask your candidates who are 3 people they admire and why. And as they repeat back to you, notice trends of who they said, why they admire their dad and their former boss and yada yada. And when you see those trends, those are likely their core values. So if they're saying things like, never took a break and constantly worked and was the hardest working person I know, you decide, is that someone you want, or is that toxic culture for you? That's yours to decide, but can really give light into what somebody values by hearing what they value in other people. That's a little tip for you. All right, the 4th round that we use in interviews and is highly recommended, especially if your team is in one office and you guys are local, is doing a face-to-face meet and greet, something casual, outside of the office environment or outside of the work actions, would be like a lunch, and just seeing, how does the team interact? Do they like them? Did they feel that this person is going to be a good fit? How does that stranger interact? Are they like a wallflower and it can be very telling how someone interacts in a group setting that they don't know anybody or are uncomfortable. And building a company culture where people like coming to work and like who they work with is really huge. All right, the other element that we've started doing that's different than a lot of people have done is putting someone in the hot seat and make them take action, test how they actually do the work, right? Let's say this is an acquisition sales guy you're trying to hire. We will put them on the phone with the manager in the listen mode or watching on Zoom, and give them, a cold lead or a low risk type of lead, but just see, how do they interact on the phone? Give them a script, give them a little bit of time to review it, and then send them to it. and see how they sound, see how they react to feedback, see how they implement feedback. There's so much you can take away from putting someone live in action into the task that they're going to do, especially without them having been prepared or notified in advance. So I think those 4 things will help you guys find the best talent and really set you up for success. Once you have brought someone new into your team, you want to make sure that your system is set up so that there is specific separation, delegation, as well as collaboration. All right, let me talk you through how we use REsimpli for that. You can assign people in multiple different roles to a lead, and then within that, you can customize how communication will flow and tasks. For example, you can set up call flows so that certain people's phone will ring in a certain order and for a certain amount of time so that phone calls aren't missed, or so that your team gets equal opportunity, or that one person, who's the best gets first priority. You can customize all of those things based on your team, and I really like that. Also, there's global tasks in the system, which basically creates tasks for certain roles when certain actions are happening, so nothing gets dropped. And let's say, for example, a property goes under contract and acquisitions just signs the contract, and now this is ready for wholesale. And we got to get photos taken and a lockbox and marketing ready, right? You don't need to use an external system or type up manually in the email to notify that next person. You can have a global task that automatically drops in there and dispositions knows, I've got a new property to work on. These are my tasks. These are my timelines. This just happened, right? So that there's very clear roles and passing between the roles. But what happens when there needs to be collaboration and something needs to pass back to another team member? Maybe it doesn't follow this super linear path and collaboration is required. Well, great news is with REsimpli, there are 2 opportunities within the platform to collaborate that you don't have to use an external platform or again, send an email. You can use a simple tag at Sara. Please give this seller a manager call. They were quite disgruntled, and I think having a manager call would set them at ease to take the next steps, right? If my teammate creates that comment with my name in it, I'll get an email and see it right there to take action. The other thing that they could do is create a specific appointment in REsimpli that will go onto my calendar and tell me at 2 o'clock tomorrow to call this seller because they set up, let me have my manager call you, and that goes straight to my calendar. They could see the availability, they could book it when I'm available, and it's super seamless and smooth. Or if it's a little more of a generic action that doesn't need a specific timeline, then they could create a task for me that will be populated into my tasks and creates something to check the box on, and that'll sit there until I check the box so it doesn't get lost. And I love these ways to collaborate within the team. It really helps things get done and deals get closed while you're in your sleep. I hope this video helps you make a next great hire and make sure that you can delegate things as a business owner and get things off your plate, but also keep things collaborative and don't get too far out of touch with what's going on in the business. Good luck. We'll see you soon.